So good morning again, Unity North. I have to admit, this is a bit surreal. I've been up here before, but when Richard asked me to give the talk after my ordination, I had this feeling of, oh, am I supposed to drop some knowledge and some wisdom that I've learned? But then I remembered, for me, being up here is a co-creative experience. I love asking questions, the energy back and forth. And I don't know if I have any questions today, but what I do know is that you are part of this experience. And so I don't need, and you're my question answer right there. We've got the front row. They're always willing to play. And so I let go of that, and we'll talk a little bit about what we can let go of. But I let go of the need because we all have that wisdom. My wisdom is not your wisdom. Your wisdom is not my wisdom. It's just wisdom. What I also realized in this moment is that I can't see my script. Quick story. My friend Amanda Sue, hello. This is her last day at Verde Valley, and she committed to them for a year. And last night I said, just like usual, my talk has decided to rewrite itself at 8 p.m. Why can I not get past that? And she said, well, interestingly, I haven't written a single thing down. I have one idea in my head, and I'm at the pool having a few margaritas, so YOLO! So I'm just going to answer the call, and we'll see what we come up with. And so, yes, this is about my call to ministry and some of the things that I've learned, but we are all being called, not just to do something, but to be something, to be someone who can speak love into a space that doesn't feel love, to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, to stand in the fire with someone and still see the divinity, because every single person, no exceptions, is the face of God. And so that's where I'm hoping that talking about my calling will infuse you with maybe your own calling. And you may have already heard the call, and what I'm here to tell you is that it doesn't always come as some profound aha moment with, fireworks in the sky. It may come from your minister saying, hey, I think you'd be a good minister. And I'm going to own that because he put into the space that which I didn't, in my truth of my being, understand was a possibility. And so sometimes we have that person that whispers in our ear that which we cannot see for ourselves, an angel, if you will. So my first thought for the day is answer the call and look for the angels. And that person who sees your divine potential. And for me, it wasn't fireworks, but it was partially due to a little fiery redhead who we've all known and loved, many of us in the room today, and that was Debbie Schroet. Debbie Schroet was I would say almost the most influential person in my life. So in 2007, and I'm walking back and forth, I'm sorry, I realize that. Do you want me to stay put? I'm not gonna. So, sorry. I think Debbie's in the room. Michael Burke's in the room for sure. Debbie's in the room, and she's like, girl, just go wherever you wanna go. How many people knew Debbie Schroet? Yeah. She was our music director, and she lit a fire in me. So in 2007, I came to Atlanta full of hope and promise, starting a new life with my partner of 7 years, and I got a call that said, I'm not coming. And hi, Julie, it's all good. Yes, her name was Julie. It wasn't always funny with two people of the same name. But that relationship had really come to an end. So I found myself in Atlanta with a relationship ended and a job that wasn't going to pay the bills, nowhere to live, and no support system whatsoever. And so on the lowest of my days in my entire life, I was on the phone with my mom, who was way far away in Pennsylvania, and she said, go find a Unity church and go there right now. Because she had found Unity before I did and was actually a leader in her Unity church, bringing the chaplain program, doing talks, so I learned from the best. And so on that Tuesday morning, I pulled up and wandered into Unity North when we had the admin building, and I couldn't even speak through the tears, but Debbie came around the corner, this fiery redhead with the voice of an angel and the southern drawl, and I was never the same. Not only did she, and I learned she was a bulldog. Talk about me with a bone. That's where I learned that. And so she insisted I come to choir practice that night. And I didn't even recognize myself, but you don't say no to her. So off I went. And from there, she helped me rebuild my life. And it was not always easy. Angels are not always just spinning halos of peace and love. Sometimes they call you to task. And that's what she did. And I was new on the spiritual journey. So I was not the best student. I was a victim with a capital V, thinking everything happened to me. And I barely recognize that person now, but it's come with a lot of deep work. And so she held my feet to the fire. We visioned the perfect apartment near Unity North, and we found it. She said, that job's not paying, you need to start applying. And so I applied to Kennesaw State University to work in human resources. Now here's the funny story. Not so funny at the time. We were going to a 4th of July party, and I feel like some of you might have been in this party, Diane, maybe. And it was gonna be full of our Unity friends and family. And I was in the running. I think like 50 people had applied for this job, and it was down to 3 of us. And we were driving, and a hawk flew over the car. And she said, well, job's yours. And I said, why? She said, because the hawk said. So I was like, okay, Debbie, that's great. Needless to say, I had no idea what was about to happen, which is we parked the car, we went in the door, and she said, everybody stop what you're doing and congratulate Julie Boniger for getting her dream job at Kennesaw State University. Raise your glass. I wanted to strangle her. I was still new to this. I got the act as if, but man, what was I gonna do if I didn't get the job? So I had a choice. I could say, no, Debbie, she's just trying to be positive. Or I could live into the energy of what it would feel like to have that job. And if I didn't get it, I'd just explain that later. So I chose B, and I got the job. Thankfully, I did not have to undo that. And so I invite you to think about who, if you've had a calling, who in your world has possibly heard your call, not so much as a whisper, but an echo. Is there somebody that has seen something in you that maybe you're afraid to really know for yourself? Because every single person in this room is a minister. You may not have heard the calling for all the schooling and all the many things, but every time you walk in here, you're ministering. Whether that's a smile to somebody as you walk in the door, or a newcomer downstairs at the newcomer table, or if you lead a ministry and you see that in somebody, you are ministering. And so I invite you to think about something that maybe is birthed in you and the person that maybe you can hold the vision for. And it doesn't have to be ministerial school. It can be the vision of the next phone call I need to make, the next scary step in the direction of something you want to do. We have that opportunity for each other. So that's the first one. My second one is stay curious, Your credo is a compass, not a contract. So the first thing that you do in seminary is write a 7-minute talk on your calling. How many people know me, and how many people think I was able to do that? I did. It's an important skill. I'm not saying I'm doing it today, but I tried really hard, Richard, to come in under my normal. And in your last year, you spend about 10 months formulating your credo, which is your belief system. And so although all the classes that I had on the Bible metaphysics, which I loved, and the New Thought authors, and all the financial stuff of how to run a church and board relations, the most important work I did was the deep inner work. And Marianne is nodding her head. Yep, she knows. That deep interpersonal work, and sometimes we don't want to look at it. It can be scary. But that, to be a minister, whether leading a church or you walking in here, requires us to do the work so that we can walk beside those that we serve, and not in front and not behind, so that we can hold that space for them to hear their own unique voice. I wish I had a question. So that 9 months was a gestation period of transformation for sure. And in the credo, we go all the way back to the religion of your parents, your own religion. I could still recite the Nicene Creed. How many of you out there could still recite yeah, in my credo talk, I actually did. And I love the cadence and the familiarity of that. But we unpacked all of that. The messages that we received about ourselves growing up, all of that goes into play with formulating your credo. But as the process kept going, I got more and more confused or concerned, because I thought about month 6, what do I believe? I have no idea. They're throwing all this stuff at me, and I'm thinking, okay, I have to distill this down. And what I realized is that as a budding minister, I somehow got the message, not from the outside, but from those childhood experiences, that I had to be perfect, and I had to have some sort of answer to be a minister. And that's not the case, because our credo is a living document. It's a compass, not a contract. Because in a contract, it's an agreement that you make, and you sign it, and then it's like, I'm going to hold on to my beliefs because I said it, and those are my beliefs, and if I take in new information and I change my mind, I'm weak. And I think today, that could be what's happening, because life is very uncertain. Not only in our country and in our world, but in our own lives. So many people are going through big, big stuff. And so we dig our heels in. And it's understandable. We need something to make us feel safe and secure, and our beliefs are usually the starting point. But a compass points us in a direction. A compass is fluid. And Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said, famously, "This is how I feel today, but I reserve the right to change my mind." He never wanted to start a movement, and that was really, really out there. And people didn't love it, because they were like, well, how are we supposed to get people to believe? And he said, there's no dogma. I might tomorrow change my mind. And so the power is in our willingness to be so grounded and rooted in our center that we can change our beliefs about what's going on out here. Can I get an amen? I wish Tiba was here. We got some amens. And so with a compass, we check in with ourselves, and we could say, okay, yeah, this feels good. Wait a minute. I can let go of that, because now I'm receiving information. And Charles also said, go to headquarters. Go to the silence. And that has become so crucially important to me. There are lots of ways to pray. There are lots of ways to meditate. However, going to silence and sitting with no agenda, no thought, you get to know in your body what your truth is. And we have the power to change our mind. And I would really say we have the responsibility to change our mind, even when things feel uncertain, even when we're sitting across the table from Uncle Henry who thinks differently than us, and man, we are gonna dig our heels in over here, and he's gonna dig his heels in over there and pass the mashed potatoes, and everybody's mad. But if you see a commonality, be willing to be the one to say, I see you. I see you. And it does not rock my center. And that's something that just happened to me in the last 6 months. And my mom can attest, I'm sort of like a different person. Yeah. Because again, I went from big V victim to, I'm getting it. I feel triggered right now, and I won't gnash my teeth so much. But on the inside, I'm like, how could you? And now I'm going to transform my thoughts. And I am not saying that unity principle number 3 should go away, because as Susie says, the answer is always principle number 3. We do and can change our thoughts, but the real gift is when we don't have to. When we're in a situation and our center and our truth is so untouchable, what's that book, unoffendable, that we can really be present. Present to the person across from us, present to Uncle Henry. And you might have the thought, okay, he's a divine being, and think of maybe how he grew up. Is there something about that? But then eventually you get to where you don't even need to do that, because you're grounded and you're able to say, you know what? I hear you. Let me think about that. And so, number 3, what do we do when we stay curious? Presence over perfection. This is a big one for me. During COVID, I was the creative director, and it was my happy place. I am not gonna lie. And the work I do today is so important, and I cherish it, and I would never give it up to go back. But boy, do I love a through line. From Winnie the Pooh in the garden to a drive-through service, Danielle knows, to a campus-wide Easter service. We were able to create things to keep us connected during a time when we had to be physically apart. We even did a Choose Your Own Adventure Sunday, and I have to thank Richard because he had to come up with 6 talks that day, and you guys got to vote, and the band got to pull up all these songs, and you got to vote, and I love that. But in the last year of seminary, I realized at what expense is epicness on presence, right? That's Richard's, has been Richard's advice to me. Can you have both? Yes. Am I gonna probably do something epic again? Probably, but now I have the awareness that it is more epic to sit with a child. I always use Xavier, who's dropping some knowledge. And if I'm thinking about camp and the million things that I have to do, how am I present with that? It is much more epic. Or if I run into Beverly on Sunday morning and we have a chat and I'm thinking, oh, I gotta get there and do, because I have a lesson that includes 43 different activities. It's epic to sit with somebody. And so that has been a big growth period for me. And one of the things that they used to say about me is that at some point they expected to see someone, if not me, zip line from the balcony onto the platform. And I'm not gonna say that won't happen, but not at the expense of presence. And Diane Glenn, who I'm so happy is here today, can definitely tell you that I was this close. I caught her on a weekday, not a weekday, but a weekday, of letting me have Mary ride in on an actual donkey for Christmas. It was a no, maybe. And I was like, maybe, let's do this. And then I saw how much a donkey gets per hour. I mean, we got through the fact that the guy dresses as a shepherd and they make sure that he's all handled here and they roll the thing out. But that donkey, I want to say it was $1,400 for like 3 hours. And even in my epicness, I couldn't justify that. But I think I'd like to know who his agent is. Everybody wants a donkey on Christmas Eve. And so thankfully, I made my own decision not to ask for that much money, Diane. But tell me, you were thinking about it. She was, yes. She's going to say that now. And so you can be epic and keep presence at the forefront. And that's my intention. And so people have said, so what's next for you, Julie? What are you doing? Camp North Star next week, and it's not going to be that epic. It will be for the kids, their definition of epic. But going through school and doing my job, it's like, what is that definition? And so that's my focus in the coming weeks, is putting on the best camp with the most presence for our children. And it is not too late to register if you have a child between 5 and 11. Shameless plug. As for my future, the other thing I've learned to stay present to myself. I love my job. I love being with our youth more than anything I've ever done in my life. And I'm also open. Who knows what could happen? Who knows where it leads? But I'm not looking, and so hopefully if you'll continue to have me, I will spend the energy and time that I had on school to do even more things with presence, not epicness. And I want to give a shout out to John Glasgow and Liam. Did any of you guys go whitewater rafting? Was it fun? Did you come out unscathed? Do you want to do it again? Yes. So I'm going to have more energy to plan stuff for our teens, and they've been coming every Tuesday, and they're connecting, and that is epic. And so I'm going to invite the band up. The last time I saw Debbie, I was giving the talk, and I'd asked her to come in for the first service. Richard was out of town, and I asked her to come in so that I didn't have to try to muddle my way through a piano. And we were sitting on the piano bench right there, and she looked at me, and she said, "I've always seen this for you. And you're going to be a wonderful Unity minister." Now, I didn't remember that until I went back to the essays I wrote, the part about the Unity minister. But did she know? That seems so absolutely unfathomable that I would be standing here today as an ordained Unity minister. We didn't say anything more, but the tears in her eyes was enough. And she died a week later. And I think she's here. Be a Debbie for someone. See in them what they didn't see for themselves. And be willing to receive that nudge from the Debbies in your life. She continues to bless me from beyond the veil. Her wife, Terry, and Debbie set up a scholarship fund because she was also pursuing her ministerial degree. She had just completed the SCE classes, and she was on her way to applying. And so I feel like I've picked up the mantle. I feel like she and I walked that journey together. This angel from beyond graced me with being able to go to Unity. And so today I want to announce that I intend to start an annual Debbie Schroet Memorial Scholarship Concert and I think all the musicians will probably come and play for free, and all the proceeds and all of you out there, because all the proceeds are going to go to replenishing the scholarship fund so her legacy lives on and more ministerial students and candidates can become LUTs and share this message. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm putting it out there just like in 2016 when I got up here and I said, I'm going to be a minister. And I said it so that you would hold me accountable. And so I think it only fitting that we sing her song, Family. Because you are my spiritual family. We are each other's family. Her energy, her spirit lives on.